One Piece Chapter 1072 starts by confirming the chapter's title, The Weight of Memories, as well as by recapping the cover picture. Queen is seen preparing his viruses, Vinsmoke Judge is seen making his spear, and Caesar Clown is seen creating a devil fruit. It seems that some time has passed since the last cover image, which featured the Mads group. The issue's actual story content starts with a narration from Dr. Vegapunk's journal during the time of Mads. It is emphasized that this isn't a flashback, but rather a text reading during the present time. Dr. Vegapunk says that even if the world doesn't accept it, he views her as a real human. He also specifies that this experiment will be their first step towards peace. One Piece Chapter 1072 shifts to Bonnie turning herself into a crying child in order to get Dr. Vegapunk's sympathy. When Vegapunk approaches her, she turns into a buff adult version of herself, almost appearing bloated like a balloon. It states that, it seems Bonnie's powers can make her turn herself into different variations of her future self or something like that. Vegapunk tells Bonnie to stop and even if you kill me timely. Bonnie hits Vegapunk on the back with a crowbar. Nevertheless, Bonnie then knocks Dr. Vegapunk's ages out of him in the form of sparkling jewels, seemingly giving his different life stages a tangible form. She decides to turn him into a baby who is able to talk, which we suspect is due to his genius brain. Dr. Vegapunk says I suppose these shiny doodads are a manifestation of the years I just lost. And Shoutly says you turned me into a helpless child. Give me back my golden years back. Bonnie tell Vegapunk to calm down and says my power doesn't last forever on living things. Then Bonnie with an angry face says you said, you had a reason, well you better start talking. And she asks Vegapunk why he killed her father. The chapter then shifts to Red Port where Kuma is seen climbing the red line. And someone says there is no way he will make it up way up there. Dr. Vegapunk tells Bonnie that he can't share why he turned her father Bartholomew Kuma into a cyborg in the past. He claims that the reason would cause her great pain, and thus he promised his friend Kuma that he would never, ever tell her the truth. Bonnie replies and says you are saying you can't tell me why you had to kill my father. Do I look like I was born yesterday? Stop screwing around. Vegapunk says I'm not trying to pull a fast one here. You need to believe me. Nobody made that decision for him. Kuma chose that fate for himself. Bonnie replies and says you're a liar. Dad would never choose to die and leave me. I'll kill you. Vegapunk says this is hard for me too. I wish I could forget the ordeal. And says Kuma is an incredible man. I have always been proud to call him my close friend. Bonnie please understand I can't say anything more on their matter. Bonnie while abusing Vegapunk says just spit it out. I'm not gonna swallow your half-ass excuses. Vegapunk replies and says this is child abuse. Bonnie hears a beep beep sound then she turns and starts walking towards the sound. Vegapunk tell her to pay no attention to what's over there. It's got nothing to do with Kuma, you hear. Bonnie replies and says that's obviously a lie. Bonnie then finds a room with a bare paw at the door. She destroys the door's lock by aging it up, similar to how Shinobu's ripe fruit works. A flashback focused on Kuma and Dr. Vegapunk then begins, with Kuma looking similar to how he did in Ohara. Kuma, meanwhile, wears a white patient's robe with no hat, showing his hair and glasses. Dr. Vegapunk tells Kuma that a scientist in West Blue discovered that humans weigh 21 grams less after they die, arguing that 21 grams is the weight of the human soul. He then explains Kuma's paw fruit ability, saying it has the power to turn intangible things into something tangible. An example of pain is given, with Dr. Vegapunk explaining that this can be achieved by turning nerve signals into tangible energy which he can push out of a body. We see drive. Vegapunk argue that Kuma should be able to do the same with imagination, thoughts, or memories as well. Dr. Vegapunk then asks Kuma to try and bring out his own memories since he wants to know the weight and size of the human memory. Kuma is hesitant since it's embarrassing, but Dr. Vegapunk begs him to do so for science's sake. The issue then returns to the present, where Bonnie enters the room with the bare paw at the door. Vegapunk says I'm sure you're familiar with Kuma's powers. There's nothing there but pain. It's more than enough to kill someone. Chapter 1072 then shifts to Kuma being shot at by the Marines. One Marine says don't let him get to Mary Geoise. Bonnie says I know my father's ability all too well. A Vice Admiral says seize him and make sure you finish him off. He's still alive. Bonnie while trying to touch the bubble that Kuma made says his memories are here aren't they? Chapter 1072 shifts to Nami saying what? Rob Lucci really made it up all the way here. Shaka says my apologies, the system malfunctioned. Usopp says it's a good thing Zoro and Brook are on the ship. There's no way they would lose. Even if it's 2 against 3 they'll figure something out. Shaka spots something and tells Usopp to look again. The battle is far more lopsided than you think. Usopp says those Seraphim things are here too. They made it all the way here. Now it's 7 against 2, they are up against the best of the best. And says they called in backup while the barrier was down. It is revealed here that the Seraphim's personality allows them to react and make decisions on their own to adapt to battle situations. Lucci says we didn't order them to come. It's not like we can make them go back now, the dome is operational again. Edison says the enemy made a serious miscalculation, now that they are up here we can turn the Seraphim back to our side. Since we are in the command hierarchy, Edison and Lilith are seen heading out to go and assist Zoro and Brook. Edison says that's assuming we get there in time to holler our orders at them. Till then they are still a huge threat. And says I hope those two can hang in there. Lilith is excited to go. Shaka says I'll leave it to you two, Edison and Lilith. Lilith says get off you high horse. Sanji says to think Moss Head would croak right when we are so close to getting the One Piece. Nami says you go too. This threat affects the whole crew. Sanji while going to help Zoro and Brook says Nami's orders are absolute. Still why do I have to save him? Frankie replies and says don't screw around Swirlifum. This is serious. Chapter 1072 shifts to Brook and Zoro. Brook says what the devil is he supposed to be? Zoro replies and say well he's meant to be a giraffe, but seems a little different from what I remember. Not that it matters, he's gonna wind up a diced up cops either way. Kaku replies and says that's only if you can cut me. Zoro tells Brook to look after the ship. Chapter 1072 shifts perspectives to Zoro versus Kaku. Kaku is now using an awakened form, which is similar to Lucci's, sporting dark flame hair, and a stream of floating dark fire wraps around his shoulders. Kaku uses some old and new attacks in the fight, but One Piece Chapter 1072 sees Zoro eventually overpower Kaku and knock him down to the ground easily. Chapter 1072 then sees Lucci order the Seraphim to destroy the lab before Dr. Vegapunk or his satellites can come out. Shaka says this is bad. Nami is terrified and says they are going to annihilate the lab. As the 4 Seraphim start attacking the building together, Kaku's neck is suddenly bitten by someone, causing him to fall asleep. Lucci with a shocked face says what the hell are you doing, Stussy? It is then revealed that Stussy is the one who bit Kaku, now seen with vampire-like wings and fangs. Stussy says who me, I'm just putting him to sleep, and asks Lucci to kindly join him, and says I think it's time for your cat nap. Her true identity is revealed as the clone of Ms. Buckingham Stussy, one of the Rocks Pirates' former members. Additionally, it is also revealed that she's the first successful human clone of Mads. What do you think of this chapter? Leave your answers in the comments section below. And would you kindly smash that subscribe button?